Hello and good evening. We are live and you are on time. This is Business Today. My name is Joram Ssonko and I am with Winnie Wizenakauchi on for the sign language interpretation. Many thanks for joining us. But first, a look at our top stories. In Business Today, Parliament has finally passed the 52.7 trillion shillings appropriation bill for the year 2023-2024, with governance and security taking the lion's share. Uganda and Kenya milk wars. The Kenya National Bureau of Standards has awarded only 80 permits to deliver milk to nations in East Africa, leaving traders in Uganda uncertain. The Uganda-UK relations. Uganda and the United Kingdom have agreed to work together to build a Mutukula regional market for hyperscale data center and Blue 3 infrastructure. And now we kick it off with the appropriation bill of 52.7 trillion shillings that has been passed today by Parliament. The appropriation bill for the budget projections of the financial years 2023 and 2024, which was later enacted, was the focus of the legislature's activity today. Now, over 52.7 trillion shillings will be allocated in the budget for the fiscal years 2023 and 2024. But the legislators have warned against giving money to organizations that don't do anything for the nation as a whole. Now, recurrent expenses will dominate the next fiscal year's budget, with little money allocated for service provision. We have more in this report. Apologies for that particular report. It will be playing later on. We now turn our focus on Kenya banning Uganda's powder milk. The Ugandan milk export licenses to Kenya have been rejected to the manufacturers of powdered milk products. Due to the decrease in output over the past 2 weeks, milk prices have decreased from 1,600 shillings per litre in March to 550 shillings per litre in May 2023, resulting in a loss of 1.5 billion shillings. Now, Captain Mike Mukula, the chairman of the Pan-African Movement, claims that the action must be taken in Kenya to address the issue in the East African Community Single Market Protocol in order to enhance milk production at the household level. We have details.
As Kenya continues its persistent ban on Ugandan products, which is destroying the entire supply chain as stores are getting filled, farmers in Uganda are losing a total of 1.5 billion shillings on long-life milk and powdered milk after acquiring long-at Kenyan stocks that are set to expire. The Kenya National Bureau of Standards only awarded 80 permits to deliver milk to nations in East Africa, leaving producers uncertain about the market. Speaking with an exporter from Fresh Dairy, we learned that they are unable to obtain licenses to export their milk products, and that is the past 2 months that they have not exported in milk to Kenya, despite the fact that there is a lot of milk in businesses and warehouses. They have 15 billion pounds of long-life milk and powdered milk that is said to expire.
Our milk has been certified on the other side by the Kenya National Bureau of Standards. And we have permits from the relevant authorities, KBS, UNBS, so quality is not an issue. We get permits to export our milk products to Kenya. The other day I saw in the papers, they are saying it is only powdered milk. No, even long life. For the last 2 months, we have not been able to do even a single liter of export to Kenya. As a result of this, given that we are in a peak season in terms of the production, the rains are there, there's a lot of milk out there in the farms, prices have collapsed. We are talking about reduction of milk prices from as high as 1,600 in March to a price of 550 as we speak. That's more than 60% price reduction. Prices are collapsing. We are talking about the entire supply chain. Because at the moment, I have not done UHT production for the last 2 weeks. I'm only doing powder just to sustain the machines running. This has also made me get additional godowns to store this powder. And I think we've been taken to one of the godowns where we're keeping the powder. It's almost getting full. I'm holding almost 15 billion worth of powder.
While speaking with journalists in Kampala, Captain Mike Mugula, the leader of the Pan-African movement, reportedly stated that it's crucial to increase efforts to address the issue of the milk crisis in Uganda because the government of Uganda is making significant adjustments to domestic spending. In order to resolve this issue, the president must speak with the president of Kenya and pay attention to the farmers'
spirit. And it comes in at a time when you'll find that government is adjusting heavily on domestic expenditure. And it is very important that we work collectively to address this matter. I'm very sure that there is something that needs to be done across Kenya. But it's also important that now that we have increased the milk production in the country, never in the history of this country has Uganda produced so much milk like this. It has never happened. And this is a result of peace and stability and good governance under General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. But those who are trying to impede this spirit and this momentum that the country has been growing this has got to be addressed at a bilateral level. In large numbers, if you look at this, there are very many of them. Most of them are now packed. If you look at the chain, the MCCs, or milk collection centers and bulk collection centers, are now suffering heavily. Because now, if you collect milk and the person who is supposed to buy is telling you, hold on, what do you do with that milk? It's a major loss. Now, what has happened is that the supply chain has now been clogged, meaning that the stores of powder milk are all full. I think they even opted towards moving towards hiring other stores, warehouses to store milk. But in terms of working capital, they cannot stretch beyond, because milk, which is under long life, milk under powder, has also got a shelf life. Now, if you stock for a long period of time and you don't have a market, that milk will expire. It means that the sector will close.
The general manager of Fresh Dairy has made a request to Kenyan authorities to look into the situation because milk transporters to Kenya are still operating and incurring billion-dollar losses every day, which affects both farmers and merchants.
You're doing local production, but so insignificant. So in terms of revenue, you're talking about on a daily, 500 million daily. You're talking about the job losses. I have more than 500 employees. 98% of these employees are Ugandans. Okay? What is at stake here? Job losses. We are talking about the supply chain locally, the transporters who are bringing this meat from Barara, Zimbabwe, all that network, all those transporters are grounded. They are all Uganda.
Additionally, Fresh Dairy pays 10 billion shillings in taxes to the Uganda Revenue Authority, which helps the economy expand and raises GDP. To ensure that our milk is sold to nations other than Kenya, President Museveni recently reassured Ugandans that they are exploring for an alternate market in Algeria. Andrew Barije, Samuel Chirimunda, Smart 24, Business Today.
All right, now moving further, the Permanent Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Ramadan Gobi, has re-emphasized government's mission to stamp out unjustified supplementary expenditures that come as a result of poor planning. He says that the use of political pressure by some government departments and agencies to ask for supplementary budgets is coming to an end. Pedison Mumbere has details.
Non-wage to run a ministry or an agency, those ones we have refused them. They are there. Are seated with us.
Are you an accounting officer and you have written to the Ministry of Finance requesting for supplementary expenditure, but you have not received any response? Ramadan Gobi, the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Finance, says that the ministry won't approve any supplementary budget that are not justified because of bad planning.
Our mission is to stamp out all uncalled for supplementary and justifiable supplementary, especially those which are eliminating out of that indiscipline I've talked about, and also failure to plan and budget correctly. Those ones we shall stamp them out going forward.
Although supplementary expenditures are provided within Uganda legal framework under the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and the Public Finance Management Act 2015, there are some concerns that the use of supplementary expenditures by government is undermining the credibility of annual planning and budgeting. Ramadan Ngobi notes that hundreds of letters are lying somewhere in his office, adding that they had approved some supplementary budgets that are self-funding and others were related to industrial policy purposes.
Some of them have been using a lot of political pressure. We need this because, you know, when we don't get this money, the country will be in trouble. Really? Is that what we do at home? That when you don't have enough money to eat chicken, the children will riot at home? Therefore, beginning this year, we have been enforcing some discipline.
The resources we have are limited. That is something they should know. Resources have never been in plenty. Anybody planning for this country, you must be able to see where we have come from, our budget, how it used to be. Now we are thinking of 51 trillion. We used to budget of 4 trillion. So, but my issue is me to serve this country fairly.
Although information on the source of funding for the supplementary expenditures is scanty for some financial years, available information from the Parliamentary Budget Committee reports indicate that the major source of funding is borrowing, both domestic and external. Honorable Nathan Byanyuma, the Member of Parliament, Bukanga South and Isinjur District, says that to come up with better planning for this country, those concerned stakeholders should stop working under political influences.
That's why I wanted the planning authority to be very independent, detached from Minister of Finance, to say, Minister of Finance, this is the plan. Work according to this plan. But they are part and parcel of the Minister of Finance. They don't make independent, decisions because decisions are affected by politics. No.
But now there has been this culture where we budget and agree as government that this is the constraint that we have, we must fit ourselves in. Then ministries, departments, agencies, local governments, especially through their leaders, they go and they start to say these are unfunded priorities. You know, that word is so ridiculous. If it's a priority, why is it not funded?
Data from a briefing paper on supplementary expenditures prepared by DEG August 2022. The financial year 2019-2020 supplementary budget was largely funded by borrowing, which includes €600, that's approximately 2,497 million, budget support loan from the Stanbic Bank and Trade Development Bank, $300 million, that's approximately 1,125 million from the World Bank, and $491.5 million, that's 1,843 million from International Monetary Fund. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Madam Speaker.
All right, now we look at economic inclusivity in our next report. In terms of promoting trade within the developing African countries, Uganda has been chosen as the host country for the highly anticipated G77 Plus China Summit. This is aimed at fostering a balanced economic progress between global powerhouses like China and the developing nations of Africa, with a focus of inclusivity, cooperation and shared prosperity. This summit does mark a pivotal moment in the pursuit of equitable growth worldwide. Naima Mutumba reports.
The G77 Plus China Group was created in 2014 through the alliance of the G77, a group of developing nations founded in 1964. The G77 Plus China is a prominent platform for resolving economic inequalities and advancing sustainable development. It is made up of a diverse group of states, including 134 developing nations from Africa, Asia and Latin America. The fact that Uganda was chosen to host this renowned event is evidence of its expanding prominence on the world scene. The country has won praise for its dedication to promoting economic growth and its diplomatic initiatives in Africa.
G77 plus China is the biggest negotiation group at the UN with a membership of 134 members states of the UN, having been established on the 15th June 1964. It derived its name from the 77 original signatories to the joint declaration of the 77 developing countries issued at the end of the first session of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, normally known as UNCTAD, in Geneva.
Important moment when we are discussing in the UN about transforming or reforming the international financial architecture. And you all know, I don't have to explain to you the magnitude and the consequences of the external debt, for example, for many of the African countries. I don't have to explain the consequences of climate change for Africa and the whole of the South. I don't have to explain about the destruction of supply chains due to the consequences of the pandemic for the whole of the South and particularly for Africa.
With its quick industrialization and technical developments propelling it to the forefront of global trade, China has emerged as a major economic force. While Uganda and other African nations have made significant economic gains recently, there are still many obstacles standing in the way of sustainable growth and reducing the wealth gap. The relationship with China will make it easier for Uganda to adopt new technologies like artificial intelligence, helping it to catch up to its peers.
Paradigm, if we are going to produce a meaningful change, not only in the way we live today, but in the way we are developing and in the way we are going to leave for our future generations, to our sons and grandsons, a better society, a more equal society, that they don't have to go through the hardships that we all have gone through. That would have to be based on science, technology, and innovation, and that would have to be based on digital. We are in the era of artificial intelligence. That is going to be dominant, and that is the thing that is going to mark, the benchmark for society.
By encouraging a climate of cooperation and understanding, the G77 plus China summit seeks to confront this discrepancy head-on, with the aim of ensuring that the economic progress made by the superpowers like China is harnessed to benefit all nations, particularly those in Africa. The event will promote debates on important subjects like trade, investment, infrastructure development, and technology transfer.
Of the world population. And that is not only numbers. That has a lot of meaning, and that has also a lot of political meaning. So, which means the most important market would be in Africa. And that is key. And you should not allow that market to be robbed from you. That market should be developed by Africans and led by Africans.
With the global community's eyes turning towards Uganda, the G77 plus China holds the promise of a new era of economic collaboration and shared prosperity. As the world grapples with the challenges of the 21st century, this gathering provides an opportunity to bridge the gap between powerhouses and developing nations, paving the way for a more balanced and inclusive future. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Moving on, our eyes now turn to prioritizing skilling in Buganda. The Katikkiro of Buganda, Charles Peter Mayiga, has hailed President Joram Museveni and his government for introducing the life-changing skilling initiative among the youth, which he said is a step in the right direction in as far as fighting unemployment in Uganda is concerned. We have more.
The Uganda Premier has urged the young people to sign up for training at the Presidential Skilling Hub. The rise in youth unemployment is a problem that cannot be ignored. Thus, developing the skills of young people is a great idea. Skill building helps young people to adopt an entrepreneurial mindset rather than aiming for white-collar professions. The center, which started operations in February this year, offers free vocational training to the youth aged between 18 and 35 years, drawn from the 9 districts that make up the Greater Masaka sub-region and Masaka City.
The most important thing for anyone is to get work. And you can only learn what to do when you're still young. So it's a great opportunity being spearheaded by the State House Comptroller and members of her team, skilling the youth in this part of the Kingdom of Uganda. So I urge all the youth to come and grab this opportunity. I always tell people that opportunity moves silently, but you must have the nose to smell it. You must have the ears to see it, the ears to hear it. You must have the eyes to see it. You even must have the tongue to taste it. So it's an opportunity that
The Buganda Premier made the remarks while launching the Presidential Skilling Industrial Hub for a Greater Masaka sub-region at Ndegeya village in Bugambira Parish in Masaka. He, however, cautioned those in leadership not to spoil the initiative and urged them to work together. He further urges the youth to uptake skilling to reduce unemployment.
Religious beliefs or even nationalities. If you want to develop, you must be smart. And to be smart is to realize the opportunity that comes your way. So I urge the young people to come and get trained so that you may have meaningful lives, especially when you are adults. So I appreciate the initiative. I thank the President and the State House Comptroller and her team.
According to the State House Comptroller Jen Bareche, President Museveni, by establishing such institutions, wants to ensure that it eliminates unemployment among the youth and change the economic statuses of people who never had a chance to attain formal education in order to transform Uganda into a middle-income economy.
We have to join hands if we want our country to grow. When you get a chance and move into other countries, people are working as if there is no tomorrow. People don't sleep. And these countries are unfortunate. Weather-wise, they are unfortunate. But for us, our country is fortunate that it has this good weather. Even if you're in the village, you can live. Even if you're here, you can live. So why don't we join hands? Why don't we join hands and suppress other factors? We leave them. English calls it leaving them constant, and we move forward.
President Museveni started the skilling hubs with an objective to empower vulnerable ghetto youth and urban youth with skills for self-reliance and wealth creation. The hub's intention is to transform Ugandans to become job creators instead of competing for the few white-collar jobs. Masaka Presidential Skilling Hub brings the total number of industrial hubs in Uganda to 19. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Meanwhile, Uganda and the United Kingdom have agreed to work together to build a Mutukula regional market for hyperscale data center and Blue 3 infrastructure. Together with the ambassador to the United Kingdom's government, Peter Vols, the Minister for Commerce, Industries and Cooperatives, Honorable Francis Mwembesa, argues that this project will boost regional commerce and boost Uganda's revenue collection. Samuel Kirimunda compiled this report.
Uganda and the UK have agreed to work collaboratively to build a Mutukula regional market for a hyperscale data center and Blue 3 infrastructure. After the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, Uganda's Minister for Trade, Industries and Cooperatives, Honorable Francis Mwembesa, says that Uganda is focusing on constructing a multi-purpose project that will include an ICT data center, hospitals, schools and restaurants to promote regional trade and increase revenue collection in Uganda.
ICT is going to be there, the modern way of communication, of passing on information from this side to outside world.
Data and knowledge and the transmission of data are the keys to the 21st century. And that's what Simon and what Stephen with the broadband, fibre optic broadband, are bringing to Uganda. And a state-of-the-art hospital. So it's not just an investment in sort of modern technology. This is an investment, a social investment in the Ugandan people and all the people whose jobs will be created at Mutukula market to make all these businesses come to fruition.
I think from Europe, which will come all the way up to Mutukula, and then they construct a data center. This data center will serve as an information center. To begin with, it will be private, but they have interest in establishing also for the government, and discussion is going on with the Ministry of ICT. They also have expressed interest to establish a 120-bed modular hospital, which will create 1,200 jobs. This hospital will be also created there. Then the fourth area they're interested in is to establish the corn silos, what we call maize or grain silos. You know, Uganda, we grow a lot of maize, so they're interested in establishing grain silos, and they will also go as far as establishing in Guru, silos in Guru, and other areas of interest.
Mark Balai, the Chief Executive Officer of Next Power Generation in the United Kingdom, notes that installing ICT data installation system in hospitals, schools, at restaurants and grain sale building will cost 17 million euros and enable people to access electricity and conduct successful business
in Uganda, and we look forward to actually rolling this out. And as I said, obviously if solar works in Ireland, it'll certainly work in Uganda. I said with the weather, so I said it's an interesting project for us. We're happy to be here, and as I said, as you see with commitment from Apex, from United Arab Emirates funding model, I think everything's in place for what to do is make flexible solutions for schools, hospitals to guarantee that you always have power. And as I said, with the radiance of light here and the sunshine with some battery storage and whatever, we're confident at delivering this for the people in rural areas, but also helping in urban areas as well. Project is 11 million euros. Okay, which is signed. That is running out to 44 million euros. Okay, but what we want to do is we want to get the first project done, get it delivered, and then what we're actually hoping is other investors will see what we're doing and follow us in, because as I said, Uganda is probably an untouched country, and as I said, once we open the door, we're hoping that other Western and Asian investors will come in and help us along the way.
With more investors eager to invest in Uganda as it looks ahead to economic development, a lot of infrastructure will be concentrated on at Mutukula border and the Mpondwe border with the DRC, among other borders. Samuel Chirumunda, Masika Tsime for Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now you're still watching Business Today, and we'll return with more business reports shortly after.